It is time for us to talk about one of the oldest institutions within the United Kingdom, and for once, I'm not on about Bruce Forsyth. That's right, I actually speak about the BBC because I think it's time that we started talking about its future. News has been coming in more and more recently about how the government is allegedly trying to bankrupt the BBC, with some of the things that have been getting passed through Parliament recently. While I don't agree that the government are going to try and bankrupt the BBC, there are certain things that I do need to say on this topic because I actually have strong feelings about it. The BBC has been around for so many years and has been funded by the taxpayer. Now recently, the BBC over the past couple of years has been sort of going through a bit of a transformation with where it actually films. Like up here now near Manchester, we have what's called Media City, which is sort of filming studios as a sort of crossover between a number of channels where they can all film these shows and it'll be probably a little bit cheaper. They split the costs, whatever it is. And of course the headquarters moved in London as well to these new premises out of the one that used to have the ball from Live and Kicking, what I remember in the 90s. Thing is though, not only with that refurbishment, but some of the things that the BBC have been doing, even just with their TV shows, means that the BBC has actually been running at a complete and utter loss for a long period of time now. For example, what I mean when I say about them running at a loss is that they have been spending more than what the license would bring in to the government. And that's fine, don't get me wrong. It's been from the taxpayer, so everyone's sort of paid into it, and they have produced some amazing television over the past couple of years. I do, however, think that the BBC needs to change to fit into modern day life. When the TV licence was first launched, then it was okay, because if you watched live television or you had a live television in your house, you had to pay the licence. But it was only a couple of years ago when I was actually going over to Canada, and I went onto one of them websites where you click on a country and it tells you about the weird laws for in that country. Now Canada was quite interesting, but it came over to the United Kingdom, and one of the strange laws was that you have to have a license to watch television. And that's when it struck me. We're really fucked up for that. The TV license itself is actually quite flawed, and more recently so because of what the government has put through, or is going to put through in Parliament, whereby if you actually don't have a TV license, then they can't take you to court. And there has been so much in the way of TV license resistance, should I say. There is so many groups on social media that are telling you don't pay the TV license. And I can sort of see why they are doing that when you have a look at what happened over in Australia. Australia, not a million years ago, tried to introduce a TV license. It was quickly ruined, though, when people refused to pay the license. I would actually love to see that happen here in the United Kingdom. I think it is time that we got rid of the TV license. Now, a lot of people will hear that and go, oh my god, how will the BBC ever fund itself if it's not paid for by the taxpayer? Well, let me tell you, they'd be funded the same way that every other fucking channel is. Already, the BBC does run some reality TV shows. They'll do like The Voice and singing competitions, where people can ring a premium rate number and the BBC will basically kind of take a little bit of the profit off the top of that number. And that sort of goes back into the programming, which of course is fine. And the other way that channels can majorly boost their income is by playing adverts that have been paid for by companies. It's the same on every other channel apart from the BBC, and I fail to see why we should have to pay this TV license when let's face basic facts here. The poorest people in the United Kingdom at the moment cannot afford to pay for the TV license. It's not only about that though. A lot of people begrudge paying the TV license because they'll go, I actually don't watch anything on the BBC. But the license also covers other channels which get paid by selling products to us. So why do we have to have a license to watch them channels? And the laws have also been changed recently to say that if you watch something that has been recorded live or is live on television, then you need a license, and it doesn't matter what device you watch that on. The property that you're in needs to have a TV license. If you take your device out of the home, apparently you will need a TV license to watch live television on your mobile phone. How that works, I have no idea, because I've never, ever, ever heard of a police officer pulling someone over who's looking at their mobile phone just to go, have you got a TV license for that? And let's look at it this way. We're still going through a fucking recession here in the United Kingdom. So a lot of people are working 2 jobs and actually don't have time to watch live television. So they'll use the modern era of catch-up TV. So you can either download stuff online or you can stream it, whatever it is that you decide to do. But you don't need a TV license for that. So people don't have to pay for the TV license that way. So of course it comes to the main sort of question that is on people's minds at the moment. Not on everyone's mind, but probably you watching this video. Do I want to see the BBC go? No, of course I don't. I think some of the programming that is done on the BBC over the past couple of decades has been absolutely groundbreaking. There has been laws changed because of what has been on the BBC, and that is absolutely incredible. And if they can continue to do that with their programming, then the power to them. But I don't agree that we should have to pay a TV license just for them to be able to do that. They should be an independently funded corporation. If they want to carry on doing the things that they do, then that's absolutely fine, but they have to get their own income, the same way that every other channel does. It is unfair for the BBC to have, quite literally, an unlimited fund of money just to be able to produce this television programme when no other channel has that same support. So yeah, in short, I don't want to see the BBC go, but I don't want to see people having to keep paying for it. So I hope in the future that that is where our government is taking us, that the TV licence will eventually go and the BBC will have to generate their own income. And it sounds like it'd be a humongous change. And yeah, okay, it might for the first couple of months be a little bit tricky for the BBC to work out, or so you'd think, but then you have to remember that there is BBC America, which broadcasts over in America. They don't have a TV licence for that, and they actually show adverts that the BBC generates an income from. Now they say that the money from that is actually kept out of the country. The money that is generated in the United Kingdom, both from the taxpayer and of course them doing like the phone-ins and that sort of thing, that's kept within the United Kingdom. That's absolutely fine. They can continue to do that if they so please. But why should we have to continue paying the license? It is an absolute farce. It really is a massive joke. So yeah, get rid of the TV license and let's keep the BBC.